Notion just announced that they're opening up their platform even more for agents, announcing a Notion CLI, workers, database sync, agent tools, webhook triggers, external agents APIs, Notion Agents SDK, and Notion was already kinda being used as the main knowledge base for many people, or the main database, because they had an API and you could plug in your agents and you could have Notion as basically a visual database. People already were using Notion for a long time, and now plugging in Notion onto your favorite AI tool was already possible. But now with these tools, it actually, like, Notion is opening up for the AI agents in a way. And I think this is the move that companies will need to make to stay relevant. Even though it's opening up the walled garden that they have been building, it is the only way, in my opinion, to stay relevant. Matt, you agree with me?
Yeah, I've been nodding like a dog over here.
I see you saying
I've been playing around with this, and I think it links to what we were saying about the Markdown versus HTML side of things, that context is so super important in terms of getting good results from AI, and therefore you kind of need a place where you keep all of your information about your personal life, about your business, about the products you sell, about your team, about everything to do with what you're trying to do. There's not one unified solution at the moment, right? I mean, people have been using Markdown files, but having Markdown files just on your local machine, as we are starting to see compute, go into the cloud, and therefore you can access it from your phone or from different machines, or so your cloud can access it. It's not the solution, right? Having it on your local machine. People have been using Obsidian, which is fine, and there's the cloud versions of Obsidian. It's interesting to see that Notion are essentially trying to be this player in the space, right? Where they're like, okay, let's see if we can be the place where everyone has all of their context, which I guess they already have been for the last 5-10, but they're integrating it with AI so that they can be that moving forward. I think it's interesting what you say about they can breaking down those walls in the walled garden, that it kind of opens it up. Also, I have not had time to play around with it yet, but I wonder if the way in which Notion describes their pages, I know they have the blocks within their pages, I wonder if that's any more effective than pure HTML, because that gives you the ability to have it just as text, just like you would in Markdown. However, if you want to have a table, if you want to have code snippets in there, you can have that in there, and you kind of have a hybrid between Markdown and HTML. I don't know. I wonder if you use more tokens in terms of interacting with the CLI. Not sure, something to play around with. But it's something which will be solved in the next year or so, is that there will be a consensus in terms of, okay, where do I keep all of my context? Managing it all yourself. I have a lot of my context and a lot of my information within Supabase, and it's very nice being able to own that data. Although it's not, I don't host it myself, so do I actually own it or not? Discussion for another day. Having it completely managed on something like Notion, especially if you're a company or you're a business that's, not at the absolute beginning, I can see how it's definitely worth, I don't know what they charge. It's $10 a month. Is it $20 a month? If it does it right, I can see how it's definitely worth that.
Ben, what do you think?
I think that where Notion sits is the closest thing to a Claude Cowork type competitor. Claude Cowork has access to all of your files, but Notion really understands your business, your system, whatever, and their whole kind of movement towards this agents workflow. It seemed pretty powerful. I looked it up while you guys were talking, and I think Notion increased their revenue by 50% year over year from the previous year, right? So people are using these AI features within Notion, and if Notion can even go more into let's understand everything that's on your computer and put everything into our file system, they have a really good chance of being this almost computer use, clicky type, clicky type provider of doing work for the consumer, but also for the business, right? Notion does a really good job of kind of towing that line between B2C and B2B. So it's cool. And the developer side, they're kind of trying to tap into that, right? So Anthropic and Claude are coming from the developer side and moving into the B2C world, whereas Notion are kind of going the other.
Yeah, I think that's a really important note there. That we are very much in the echo chamber, as we've talked about. Most people are kind of aware of AI, but they're not using it to the extent that we are. If all of your company's data is in Notion, you're going to pay an extra $20 a month per seat in order to use all those AI tools. And you're not going to want to migrate over to a native tool that's built with Claude in the background. If it's got all of your information, and Notion's AI tools are decent. I haven't used them for a while, but from what I last used, they are decent. Yeah, I haven't really thought the point you put across, Ben, that they potentially could scoop up a lot of the market there by being like one click and you've got access to all of this information and all of these AI capabilities right there.
And they could maybe even be like, they are a CRM, they are a team management software, whatever you want, to-do lists. Like if you look through the Notion templates, it's insane how, like, 3 years ago, people were like literally building Notion systems for companies to track all their operations and everything. I hired a Notion consultant, I think 2-3 years ago, to build a super complex operation system for our marketing team and other teams to get that sorted there. We ended up not using it because that was the negative for in my opinion of Notion. It has so many functionalities that it had too much functionalities in there, and then I much rather use a specific CRM tool for CRM, and then Notion has the public knowledge base, for example. But they have everything in there indeed, and then if the AI actually gets better and you can describe, create this for me, why would someone go and vibe code a dashboard somewhere else if you can just vibe code it in Notion and have it all there? For me, this update comes 2 weeks late or a month late, because I literally migrated everything off Notion and everything off my Apple Notes into MD files. So now everything is in my personal knowledge system, and I don't think I will bring it back into Notion.